Afternoon all. I thought I would go ahead with this video and talk a little bit about the TV pilot for the show Alphas. I saw it courtesy of Rodney 383, who also has, Anime Real Talk. So I'd like to throw a shout out to Rodney for providing the clip. As Rodney had mentioned himself, at first blush, this show is likely to be compared to Heroes. But once you get past the powers aspect of the show, I think most people will tend to see this show as something unto itself and not really a carbon copy of Heroes. Heroes was really more of Tim Kring trying to essentially bring about this kind of real epic scale type deal that goes on with folks with superpowers, whereas Alphas seems to be a little bit more underplayed, underscored, or however you want to say it. Understated. That's probably the best word for it. Understated. The one quibble that I had with the show, looking at it, although in retrospect I kind of understand why they did what they did, was that I was hoping they would go more into how each character was sort of acquired, how each character ended up becoming part of this organization, but they bypassed that and made it so that these folks were already established. They already knew one another, they already knew about their powers and all that kind of stuff. And it sort of had a way of not having to be all cumbersome by putting together some kind of origin story. And if the show does well, maybe certain things will be talked about in like a backstory type format. But even if not, the fact that these characters are pretty much already fully realized, I really don't have a problem with that. Now, as far as the powers themselves go, there doesn't seem to be really anything that's as over the top as characters are in Heroes, but it is one of those deals where whatever gift or attribute that you have, it seems to take away from you in some other way. And while I see that as kind of being perhaps more realistic, Malik Yoba, his character on the show, I think really gets the shaft in terms of his ability. Because he's the guy whose whole thing is tied up into adrenaline. And it allows him to access physicality, strength essentially, when he needs it. Unfortunately, whenever he has to expend any kind of energy for a prolonged period of time, in his case anything probably more than 3 minutes, it has a profound effect on him afterwards, in the negative sense. And what that does is it puts me in the mind, believe it or not, of Ultraman, for those that remember that, where you would hear the narrator say something like, "Oh, Ultraman's been too far away from the sun. If Ultraman can't make it back to the sun, blah 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 blah, he'll die," or however that crap went. But that's what Malik Yoba's character reminds me of. And while I totally grasp the whole if you can do something great, that something equal has to be as debilitating to you as the power is helpful for you, it just seems to me to be a little uneven. If they made it so where his power, he expend his energy, and then after that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever, he basically is drained. I can, that's fine. That's fine. But to make it so like he's going to have a aneurysm, I think that's a bit much. But having said all that, within the context of the show, within the bigger span of the show, I think overall, Alpha has come to a fairly decent start. The lady who has the suggestive power, I'm not quite feeling her on the acting tip. She puts me a little bit in the mind of being a little bit wooden, kind of like January Jones was in First Class. But she's not horrible, and maybe she's a character I'll be able to grow into. But time will tell. But all things said and done, Alphas is definitely something I'm going to want to check out for the immediate future. See how the next few episodes go, and take it for what it is at that point. In the meantime, I'm going to shut it off right here. Anybody else seen the show, care to talk about the characters that they liked or didn't like, or the premise that they like about the show or don't like about the show, I'm all ears. Until next time, night out.